Alright, thanks for joining me for another ball review. This one is for the Storm IQ Tour Emerald. Before we get started, I want to thank all my sponsors and supporters. Storm keeps me in equipment and offers an unbelievable amount of support. Turbo keeps me in the best grips and accessories on the market. Gerry, Keslar, and Jesse James, who own both Westridge Lanes and Gage Bowl, where I film at here in Topeka, take care of me when it comes to filming. And John Hildreth and Mike McBride, who are the head mechanics at Westridge and Gage respectively, always get me set up with whatever I need on the lanes. I'm also a representative and big fan of Nick Brown and the Storm Rotogrip bowling balls for sale on Facebook. With over 13,000 members, there's no better place to go for current, discontinued, rare, or international Storm or Rotogrip balls. If it wasn't for all the above, I wouldn't be making videos and I wouldn't be able to show off this super exciting release. I have a couple surprises for this one. I've filmed on a different sport pattern at each center. Here at Westridge, we're on Kegel Sphinx. The numbers are similar to the house pattern with, of course, the exception of the ratio. This is quite a bit flatter and more difficult than the house shot. Also, I'm sure you've noticed by now, but the visual quality is much improved because I got a new camera that has a quite a bit higher bit rate, so the picture is super clean and crisp now. I use my IQ layout for this one, 65 by 4 by 40, which is something I don't use on anything else. With the differential of this core being so low, I can utilize a stronger, more continuous pin position without it flaring too much and consequently being earlier than I'd like. The story is pretty simple with this one. It's a remake of the late great IQ Tour Pearl, aka the Gold Ball. There have been several different remakes, both here and overseas, including a straight re-release internationally last summer, but for most fans of the OG, none of them quite hit the mark. Were they still good? Sure. I mean, R2S Pearl and the C3 core are kind of like biscuits and gravy or chicken and waffles. It's just hard to screw that up. But when the bar's set that high, and given that different color combinations and even scents can affect ball reaction, people are going to be pretty picky. The good news is, though, that the Emerald is the closest one yet, and according to Justin Wyman, Storm's new technical developer, they're virtually identical. See the link in the description for a video by him featuring that comparison. It's a pretty rolly and smooth ball, but the layout makes it more aggressive, so the angles from second arrow were a little tricky, but I got softer with it and it did work. Moving inside, here's where I like the layout so much. This core and cover combo really controls the mid lane well. It's clean through the heads, but begins to roll pretty heavy halfway down the lane, and with a weaker layout, given the low differential, there's a limit to how deep you can get with an IQ, but by going stronger with the pin, I get a more continuous and stronger read, so I get the mid lane control and a firmer move down lane so I can successfully play deeper angles and still get the hit. So if I'm going good with it, I can keep moving left instead of having to move to a different ball. Comparisons for this one are the IQ Tour Solid and Idle Pearl. Now both of these look great on this pattern, plenty of friction to work with, and although I had more room to the right with both the Emerald and the Idle Pearl, I could go a little straighter with the Solid. All three were clean and easy down the lane with a nice controllable and consistent finish into the pocket. Now one note here though is that my Idle Pearl is drilled much weaker. It's a 5-inch pin down, it's got a pretty high differential, so I actually needed to tame that one down. Moving to Gage and Turnpike, the Emerald continued to impress even though it was just a bit too weak on the fresh. Once again, second arrow was the most difficult place to play. Shiny and straight angles on a fresh sport pattern of any kind isn't going to be the best idea no matter what the ball or condition. My straight game also admittedly isn't that great on anything, let alone when I'm not playing the lanes right. Again, I like to stay slow and roll the ball, and that's a lot easier to do when I have more lane and angle to play with. Still, it didn't look that bad despite everything being wrong about the situation. Now, once I moved in, it got more comfortable, but due to Turnpike being just over a 2-to-1 ratio, which is really flat, fourth arrow was where I was the most comfortable. Comparing to the IQ Tour Solid, it struggled from everywhere. The smoother read down lane just hamstrung it across the board. It just needed more friction. The best choice if I was in a tournament or trying to score likely would have been a Phase 2 at about 2,000 grit for the first couple games, maybe a Halo. And probably by then there would have been enough friction built for the Tour Solid to come to life, but I just didn't have enough hook to work with. Additionally, the Idle Pearl looked great from second and third arrow again, but the angles got a little too steep from fourth, which is again the idea for me with the layout on the Emerald. I get that heavy mid lane roll and the control of that core, plus the length and pop down lane out of the cover, so it's a pretty ideal reaction for me. At the end of the day, the Emerald covers several bases. It fills a big gap between the Master and Thunder lines. It brings back the IQ Tour Pro, which people have been begging for since it was discontinued, and it's as close as you're going to get without actually being a straight re-release. Now, once you get it in your hands, you're going to forget about the Gold Ball. It really was built for longevity. It's gorgeous, especially if you can get some light on it. Smells amazing, and this core cover combination just might be the best thing in bowling. The IQ Tour Emerald releases on June 21st with the Astrophysics. Thanks for watching.